there's so many things that they can't do. So guess who's gonna be responsible for him? You, girl, you.
Am I you? Am I yours? But you're always ignorant. Yeah.
Hey guys, what's up? It's your girl Lot Goddess. Welcome back to my corner where I inspire others to dream more, live more, and become more. I just want to say, first of all, if this is your first time clicking on one of my videos, please make sure that you stick around. It's a vibe over here, but remember, only subscribe if you feel in the vibe, okay? I do want to make a quick announcement. So you guys know that I love filming content related to Nigeria, whether it's Nigerian men or some things to do before your trip to Nigeria, things like that. So I would love to introduce to you guys a new segment that I want to bring to my channel. So that segment is going to be called Get Locked In. I'm going to be interviewing people, specifically women, and they're going to be sharing their like international dating experiences. And what's going to happen is I'm going to post it onto my channel, but it's going to be completely anonymous, sis. So you don't have to worry about your name being out there, your face being out there. It's going to just be, you know, a conversation between you and I, and you're going to be sharing your experiences. And the whole goal is to be able to, you know, just kind of shed light for other women who might be interested in dating internationally. We're gonna be giving tips, advice, we're gonna be spilling tea, talking about crazy story time. The information to exactly how you can schedule a call with me will be linked down in the description box below, or you can also send me a DM on Instagram and we can get into it, okay? So very excited about this segment, and I want to give a special shout out to my girl Rachel, because she actually helped me come up with this content idea. So if you're looking revamp and like, you know, turn your content into a business, definitely hit her up. I will also leave her information in the description box below. So now that we got that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into today's topic. In today's video, we are going to be talking about some things that you should consider before inviting your spouse here to the US. So these tips are specifically going to be for my, you know, my international dating mommies, those of you who are maybe American and you're looking to bring your spouse from their foreign country into the US. So yeah, that sounds like something that you're interested in. Let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so my first bit of advice, I would say make sure that you have been dating this person long enough. To be honest, I kind of feel like I really don't even have to go into too deep of detail with that point. We're just gonna go through it because this is what the video is about, right? When it comes to dating international, you wanna make sure that you've been dating this person long enough for several reasons. So if you guys are in a long distance relationship, there's a high chance that you don't get to see them on a regular basis. And then as you guys know, we just literally are still even going through a whole world crisis right now. And so with that, you have to be careful, because if it's been a year or 2 years since you've been around them, a lot of things can change, right? Like behaviors are different, attitudes are different, some, you know, habits are different. So you really want to make sure that this person is going to be that same genuine person that you fell in love with a year or 2 years ago. So really make sure that you've been dating them long enough to be able to make that judgment to say, okay, yeah, like, I don't know if y'all watch 90 Day Fiance, but that's one of me and Bae's favorite shows. I'm gonna tell y'all a perfect example. Y'all know, is it Kobe and I forgot the girl's name, but yeah, I'll leave their picture on the screen or whatever. So their story, I feel like, was kind of like interesting because, you know, it was almost like a situation based on circumstance, right? Like they met each other in, I think it was China where they met, you know, they did the do, and then she ended up getting pregnant, right? So after only a couple of months of dating Kobe, she ended up getting pregnant. And so then after that, around that time, the pandemic hit and they didn't see each other for 2 years. So now 2 years goes by, he's now in America, and their attitudes and their behaviors, everything is totally different. And he's always saying stuff like, oh my gosh, this isn't the woman that I fell in love with 2 years ago. Well, it's probably not it, you know, like she done had a baby. So many things are just different. And so I really wanted to use that example to let you guys know that as time goes by, things change, people change, emotions change. And so when you're now bringing a person into your personal space, you want to make sure that you are aware of their habits. You want to make sure that they're respectful. Like, will they treat you good? Do they treat others good when y'all go out in public? Will they treat your family well? These are things that, you know, unfortunately you can't always gauge when you guys are in a long distance relationship, because y'all don't have that time constraint to really be able to meet each other's parents and each other's family and things like that. So a lot of things you really won't know until you get with that person and they get around you and get around your family in person, and you realize, ooh, this is not the person that I thought this was. So I've also heard stories where like women will go international, they'll fly to go see their boo, and they notice that like he got these horrible habits, like he be farting, digging in his nose, not taking showers, breath be funky, and I'm just like,
That's nice.
That's the thing. Like, you know, there are certain things that you really won't know until you actually start to live with that person. So with that, I just want to say, make sure that you've been dating them for long enough. And I would say make sure that you've seen them enough times in person to be able to gauge, because, you know, most international trips, you only really gonna be there for a week, maybe 3 weeks at the absolute max. And you can't really gauge a person's habits in 3 weeks, right? So you want to make sure that you've seen this person on multiple occasions to be able to say that I know and trust that this person is, you know, legit. This person ain't got no crazy habits. This person doesn't have anything that would be considered a deal breaker for me if it was another guy. So please make sure that you've been dating this person for long enough before you bring them to your country, sis. Number 2, this is super important, super important. You want to make sure that you guys have a solid foundation. So having a solid foundation, I feel like there's a lot of pieces that go to that. Emotionally, financially, spiritually, mentally, physically, all of those things I feel like are as equally important. And to be honest too, I feel like sometimes people place a lot of emphasis on the financial, but to be honest, the financial will come. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that you should just downgrade and just date somebody who just can't do absolutely anything for you. I'm not saying that, but sometimes you have to look at, like, what else can this person offer me? Like, are they in a space where they don't really have, like, you know, all the money in the world? But as long as that effort is there, and as long as that person kind of checks all of your other boxes, emotionally, physically, you know, spiritually, like, can y'all pray together? Or can y'all, you know, have conversation? Like, what's the conversation like? Or is it always about arguments and things like that? So you want to make sure that the foundation is solid, because once you know for sure that you can trust this person, once you know that you have that solid, just a solid background with this person, then there's a higher chance that y'all will actually make it once he comes to the US, right? Long distance, if it don't teach you nothing else, it teaches you the importance of communication, and it teaches you the importance of really just like love and true, genuine, authentic love for each other, because y'all don't have the luxury of what an in-person couple would have. So y'all can't be in person with each other. Y'all can't go on dates and stuff together. The foundation itself has to be super solid. If y'all have a fight, y'all gotta learn how to communicate. Y'all have to trust each other. I talked about this a lot in one of my last videos related to long distance, but you wanna at least make sure that the foundation is there, because when the foundation is set, it's only up from there, period. Number 3, be sure that he is stable. I feel like this one is super duper important for many reasons. When I say make sure that he's stable, I'm not even only talking about financial, right? But like mentally and emotionally, right? Like if you guys have an argument and y'all are in person and he does something like, I don't know, throws a glass against the wall, or he punches a hole in the wall, or he even puts his hands on you, like that right there is getting way too serious. And at that point, you really gotta decide, like, okay, I don't know, like he say he loved me, but mentally he don't seem like he's that stable. Or even, you know, in a long distance relationship, again, all you guys have is phone and internet really to communicate, right? So if he's a person where, you know, he's calling you 100 times a day when you don't answer your phone, or he's just, you know, always trying to ask where you at, who you with, what you doing, he don't want you to go nowhere, then to me, that's kind of like a red flag that he's not as emotionally stable as he could be. And you don't want to bring somebody like into your space who's like that, because it's only going to get worse. And I'm a firm believer that people should always follow their intuition. Always follow what feels right. If it don't feel right, trust your gut, because your gut is not gonna lie. Your gut is filled with wisdom. It's not gonna steer you wrong, I promise. So this person, they might look good, they might have money, this and that and the third, but if they're showing any type of instability, even from a spiritual level, right? Like if he's kind of off balance from a spiritual, now I know some people, you know, will say that, like, because honestly, I don't want y'all to think that I'm just saying like, oh, if he's not religious, then he's not the one. I'm not saying that at all, because you got some people who will say that they are holier than thou, and they will just completely take advantage of a woman, right? You want to make sure that he has some type of morals and values. Like what is his moral compass? What are the things that he believes in? You have to make sure that you guys are going to be able to vibe and be on the same frequency. Like if stuff hits the fan, what's our go-to? Do we pray about it together? Do we go to counseling? Or is he a person who doesn't really believe in counseling? Or he doesn't have a specific religion? Or he doesn't have like a spiritual background? Those are things that if you do have those things and he doesn't, y'all are gonna clash, honestly. And it's giving that y'all are on 2 different pages. So make sure that he is stable, not just financially, but all the other areas as well. Okay, so for number 4, my next point, along with him being stable, you need to make sure that you are stable, okay? So in the same ways that he is stable, you want to make sure that you too, as an adult, because let me tell y'all, I'm gonna be honest, I feel like a lot of times we as women, we always kind of have the assumption that the man is supposed to be the one to provide this and provide that, and he's supposed to do this for me, he's supposed to do that for me, and we have this assumption assumption that we're supposed to just kick back and not put any work in. And I'm a firm believer that when it comes to a relationship, when it comes to marriage, all those things, it's not 50-50. To be honest, it's 100 and 100. Both people should be giving 100% full effort, not just, oh, okay, well, he gonna give 60 and I'm gonna give 40, or oh, we gonna do 50-50. Absolutely not. Okay, when it comes to like bills and stuff like that, if y'all decide to split bills 50-50 or something, then okay, cool. When it comes to the effort in your relationship, and when it comes to both of y'all wanting to make it work, it needs to be 100 and 100. I have learned just over time with just my experiences, I have learned that a relationship, the only way it'll really work is if you guys both want it to work. If one person wants it more than the other person, it's not gonna last. When it comes to dating international and you considering bringing your spouse to America, it is super important that you are stable, sis. Now, with this point, I'm really gonna emphasize the financials, because when it comes to an immigration process, that thing ain't cheap. I'm talking thousands of dollars, sis. Like, talk less of if you have to get a lawyer, there's immigration fees, there's flight fees, there's visa fees, so many different things. So if you are at a space where you are not financially stable, like you can't fend for yourself, you have to be able to prove to USCIS, which is like basically US immigration, you have to be able to prove to the US that you can bring this person here and that they won't become a burden to the US, right? So they're gonna ask you, they're gonna get real, listen y'all, immigration is very nosy, okay? They're gonna ask you for bank statements, they're gonna ask you for income statements, they're gonna ask you for your lease, they're gonna ask you for all these different things, because they need to see that you are stable enough to bring an alien resident, which would be your spouse. They have to make sure that you can actually bring this person here and take care of them. It's one thing to put it on paper, it's one thing for y'all to be married, it's a whole nother thing when you actually sponsor somebody to come to your country. There's so much that goes into that. I worked for an immigration attorney for years, y'all, so honestly I could do a whole separate video about the immigration process when it comes to bringing your spouse over. But regardless, you want to make sure that from a financial perspective that, hey, if he comes over here next year, am I gonna be ready? Or if he comes over here in 6 months, am I gonna be ready? Do I have my solid foundation? Do I have my own space? Do I have my own car for transportation? Because a lot of times, y'all gotta remember, when it comes to that, right? When you bring your spouse to the US, they're not gonna be able to drive. They're not gonna be able to get nothing in their name just yet. There's so many things that they can't do. So guess who's gonna be responsible for him? You, girl, you. 9 times out of 10, he's not gonna be able to work right away unless you have a certain type of visa for something like that. So you wanna make sure that you yourself can manage you and him until he gets the appropriate visa to be able to work for himself, or to be able to help you out with household items, bills, and all that kind of stuff. And then, you know, aside from the financial, I feel like it's the same thing. Mentally, are you stable enough to actually be able to live with this person, right? Especially if you've never lived with your spouse before, if you have never experienced something like this. So these are things that you have to consider. So along with him being stable, girl, you gotta be stable too. And last but not least, the number 5 thing to consider before bringing your international partner to the US is to consider the cultural differences, okay? So that can mean a lot of things. That can mean language barriers, that can mean like food, like differences in food, or just like, you know, regular habits in general. So a lot of times, if you're from the US and your partner is from an international country, right? Chances are, to some extent, there might be some type of language barrier, or just that understanding for what certain things mean might be a little different. Even when me and my partner, when we first started dating, there were certain things that had 2 completely different meanings, right? So like, he's from Nigeria. Now, their national official language is English, right? So it's not that we had a language barrier, but sometimes there were certain meanings to certain things where I saw it one way, he saw it another way. And even still, sometimes that still happens, right? So you wanna make sure that you are cognizant of the cultural differences. And also, honestly too, when it comes to bringing them to the US, you have to remember that you think that you're making a big sacrifice, but they're making a huge sacrifice as well. They're pretty much uprooting everything that they know in their home country to come and pretty much have to live on you, to be completely honest, because they won't have family here. More than likely, they won't have family here. They won't have friends here. And then when they first come, they can't do nothing. They can't work. So I feel like as a man, to some extent, that's gonna kind of like bother their like pride a little bit, because that's gonna make them feel like, dang, like I can't even like really do what I want to for my spouse because I'm here and it's like I have to kind of start from scratch. So I feel like it's like super important that you understand that, okay, if he comes from a culture where he's used to being the leader of the house and he's used to being the one to, you know, kind of like lead the relationship, right? And kind of be the protector and the provider. If he's used to being those things and then he comes to the US and he can't do none of that, that's really gonna bother him. That's gonna bother his confidence level. That is gonna bother his pride, you know, and that might have a negative effect on his mental health. So, and you have to be sensitive to those things, okay? So having a conversation and not just assuming that he means one thing when he does something, it really might mean something completely different, but you won't know that unless you have that conversation with him. And they can be worked through, don't get me wrong. These things can definitely be worked through, but y'all have to communicate in order for that to even happen. So communication, especially when it comes to cultural differences. All right, and so that is gonna be the end of this video, guys. I hope that if you are an international mommy, hashtag international mommy, okay? If you are international mommy, and I don't mean M-O-M-M-Y, I'm talking like M-A-M-I, okay? Like you an international babe, your dude is in another country or whatever. If you have any advice or just things that helped you out when it came to dating like long distance, if your spouse was in another country that was completely different from the US, share your experiences in the comments, right? I really want this to be a space for like us to just come together and discuss the struggles, the good, the bad, the ugly of dating international, okay? And again, if you are interested in being a part of the Get Locked Down segment, please make sure you reach out to me via Instagram or look at the information down below. I'll leave my email if y'all want to send me something so that we can get that going. I'm very excited and I know that that's going to go really well. So that's going to be the end of this video. I really enjoyed filming this, guys. And yeah, I will see you guys in my next one.